Hi there, it's Sam from Pootles.co.uk. Thank you very much for joining me today. Today's project is this one. It's a picnic basket with two opening sides to it. I don't do complicated. Wish you could see me, I would metaphorically stamping my feet. I love the most complicated projects out there. I think they're beautiful, they're highly skilled and detailed. I just can't do them, so I don't do them. I haven't got the patience and I haven't got the skills, but I like to make gorgeous looking projects and make them as simply as possible for you guys, and that's what we're going to do today. What do you think? But yeah, I wish you could see me. I'll be stamping my feet. I don't do complicated. I can't do complicated. I do simple but beautiful. I like to think that's pretty awesome. So we need to make two parts to it because it is actually two parts hidden with a band. And it goes like that, which is exactly how a picnic basket would be. The only difference is that you would be able to go through it, but I demystified it. So, excuse me, all of the measurements that I've got written down on my blog, so click open the description bar, you can see all of the instructions there. You can even watch the video on my blog at the same time as having reading the instructions, but you need two parts. So I've already made one of the boxes, so this is one. And you need two of them. So I've completed one. I'm going to show you how to make the other one. So whatever measurements you see written down, duplicate basically. So 7 by 11 inches, 17.5 by 27.5 centimetres. And I've lost my stylus. There it is. On the long side, score it at 2, 5, 7 and 10 inches, which in metric is 5, 12.5, 17.5 and 25. And then turn it on the short side, score it at 2 inches and 5 inches, which in metric is 5 and 12.5. And actually the finished size of each of the two boxes is 3 by 3 by 2 inches tall, which is 7.5 by 7.5 by 5 centimetres. And like I say, they're two separate boxes. It's an illusion, basically. I've created an illusion. I really wanted to do a picnic basket using the sea and sand. Is it sea and sand or sand and sea? That paper. Because I used to live by the sea until we moved to Cambridgeshire, which is kind of landlocked. I used to live on the North Wales coast. And yeah, we would go to the beach and we would take a picnic. And I kind of really wanted to make a picnic basket, and so I did, but I wanted to make a simple one. Okay, so this is your piece of cardstock. You will see in the midst of it two squares, and you'll see wide rectangle, square, narrow rectangle. So down at that end, turn it round, get rid of 1 and 2 on the outside and 1 and 2 on the outside. And I'll do that for you and then show you so you know exactly which bits to take away. Okay, so that's my two parts. That's that section there. And do the same on both sides. And like I say, you need to make two boxes exactly the same way. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to hack into that even more. And I'm going to cut straight down that rectangle and hack in and chop. Okay, so you can see that's well chopped, but my rectangle here is going to stay straight. Same there. Wedge, wedge, chop. And then just come round and do the same. And like I say, yeah, exactly the same for both boxes. We're just going to put them together back to back when I'm done. I need to mitre that a little bit more and then chop off a bit. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over and start decorating. And what I've got here, and again, you need the measurements, volume, number and everything I'm going to give you is for one box, and you will need the same for both. So you need one piece that's 2 3/4 inches wide by 3/4 of an inch for that panel there. That's 7 by 2 centimetres. Like I say, everything's written on my blog. This one's 2 3/4 by 2 3/4 for that part, which is 7 by 7. And then we need 3 bits for the outer edges, the outer rectangles. So not this one here, because that's actually that bit. And they are 2 3/4 by 1 3/4, which is 7 by 4.5 centimetres. And I'm going to run some seal down these and stick them on. And I haven't tried to make my pattern paper fit perfectly because I didn't try to, and I quite like the whimsy of the fact that it doesn't match or line up. But if you're highly skilled and highly talented in a way that I'm not, I'd love to see what it would look like if your pattern's perfectly flowed. Okay. Right. So you can see how the box is coming together. These bits here and here, I'm going to put some strong adhesive on because we're going to close up the box now. So I'm going to use my Seal Plus. And we know that this is obviously the base, so just bring it round. There. And there. Bring this one round. Here. And here. And in this case I used magnets. On my original I did. If magnets are not something that you can use for the person who's going to receive this, you could use Velcro dots. You could maybe use a brad system. You could put 2 buttons there and make a figure of 8 or something like that. I'm going to go ahead and use the magnets again. And I had a little bit of trouble with these before. They didn't want to play the game. They got too strong. So, oops. So I've got, these are 8mm by 1mm neodymium magnets. And every time I do a project that uses a magnet, everybody says, can you give me a link please? I can't, because there's millions of places that you can get them. So I've got one on the inside and I've got one on the outside now, so that I know my poles are correct. What I'm going to do on the back of my notes, I'm going to write down what they're called. Neodymium. 8mm by 1mm. I'm just going to leave this up here just for a second so you can read them. And yet you can find them on Amazon, on eBay. They are super cheap. I buy them usually 50 at a time, and I pay no more than about £4 for them. I really don't pay very much for them at all. There we go. I've just squished that on so it's in the right place. But yeah, that's how you spell it. Neodymium. 8mm by 1mm. Okay. And they're brilliant. I've got loads of them. And there we go. So I'll leave that there for a second. Right, so these two, we're going to go back to back with them so that our opening edges remain as opening edges. So I've got my liquid glue. And I've just used my grid paper and my hands to slide them together. And talk amongst yourselves for a second while I wait for this glue to dry. Oh, I'm going to tell you a funny story. So you need for the handle a piece of cardstock that is 1 inch wide by 11 inches long, which is now written on the back of this. What is it in metric? 2.5 by 27.5 centimetres long. You also need designer series paper to fit over the top of it of 3/4 of an inch by 10 3/4 inches, which is 2 by 27 centimetres. Except I'd already used a full sheet of this designer series paper for another project, so I only had one left. And I used only a tiny little bit for my sample project. Really didn't use very much at all, so I had more than half a sheet left. Do you think I cut the 10 3/4 length bit first? No, I cut everything else, and I don't have... Oh, actually, maybe I do. Oh. No, it's not long enough. See? My paper's not long enough for my strap. Cut your strap first if you're on your last sheet of paper, because I didn't. So I'm now having to use something completely different. But yeah, I didn't take that into consideration when I was cutting all of the bits for this, and I have nothing else that is long enough, and I don't want the handle to be shorter, so don't make my mistake. Right, I'm getting all of a fluster now. So this is my strap, and I've just said the measurements, so 1 inch by 11 inches, and it is the bit that's left over from your piece of cardstock, and I'm just bending it like this because I want to get a bit of a curl, and I use my fingers to make it work faster. There we go. And the same with my paper. I figured that was the closest, it will be fine. And that's going to sit over the top, so let's get some... I can't believe I did that. I literally came to the end to do the strap last because that would be how I've written down on my notes. I was like, no, you're joking. Typical. So just find a pattern that is similar. There we go. So, right, more liquid glue. Liquid glue and I are not friends. We're really not. So I'm going to go towards the bottom, and I'm going to literally cover up this section here from the bottom and press down. This really is a talk amongst yourselves day to day, isn't it? And turn it over, and a bit more glue there and there. And press down and hold it in place. And I like to think it's not a complicated project at all. I think that actually is quite simple. That would be a nice gift. Maybe if you were doing a road trip. I have no idea what kind of lockdown is going to be in place over this summer, but it could be that, you know, you can't travel too far, or it could be that you could do a road trip. Some little treats in that. I mean, staycation, anybody here in the UK? Nobody's leaving the UK this year. But yeah, you could put some treats in it for a road trip, or you could just simply give it as a gift to somebody. I just think that's great. And I think for something that looks like it could be very complicated, but actually isn't, pretty proud of myself. Anyway, thank you ever so much for joining me. Hope to speak to you very soon. Bye.